Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back. So I got a video request from a fellow viewer of this channel named Jason. Now if you guys don't know who Jason is, basically he's been a longtime member of Andy's Fire Club and he's been a longtime viewer of this channel. I've seen him make comments on my videos from like way back in the day. So shout out to Jason, and Jason, if you're watching this, please leave a comment down below so that everyone can say hi to you. I hope you don't mind me sharing your comment publicly like this. You did post your comment in a public place, so I assume that you're okay with this. But anyways, Jason recommended that I talk about Mindmed, and I did some research into it myself, and this is actually a very interesting company. So I'm super excited to talk about this today, and without further ado, let's jump in. So Mindmed, if you've never heard of them, is a company that develops, discovers, and deploys psychedelic alternative medicines that help treat a variety of different conditions such as anxiety, addiction, ADHD, and cluster headaches. In particular, the company is developing a line of drugs based on substances like LSD, MDMA, DMT, and other medical ingredients to manufacture treatments for the aforementioned diseases. So they're both listed in Canada and the US, and I know you guys love hearing about me talk about Canadian listed stocks because I know you guys are getting that commission-free trading on Wealthsimple Trade. And I can confirm that Mindmed is available on Wealthsimple Trade. And if you want to sign up for Wealthsimple Trade, you can use the link down below to get your $10 cash bonus for you when you deposit and trade your first $100. By the way, I'm not recommending you to buy this stock. I'm just saying that it is available on trade so that if you choose to buy it, you can. Also, there's a link down below in Wealthsimple Invest where you can invest your money on autopilot, where you can just set it and forget it. And the cash bonus for that is $50 when you deposit and invest your first $500. So full disclosure, these are affiliate links, so you don't have to use them if you don't want to. But if you decide to do so, it helps me out, helps out the channel at no additional cost to you, and it would be greatly appreciated. Now anyways, back to the video. So actually this isn't the first time I've heard of the company Mindmed. So if you guys would recall, back in January I was working for this financial research startup. Yeah, the one that I got fired from. Yeah, that's the one. Well, before those tragic events unfolded though, I was doing some research on various MJ companies, since that was kind of like the up and coming industry at that time. I say at that time, it's only back in January. So the company that I was working for though, the research firm, they had gotten some initial big hits off of doing research for MJ companies. So that's kind of what we were known for at the time. And by the way, I have to use code words because YouTube really doesn't like it when I say certain words. So by MJ, I mean that thing that people have that makes them really happy and want to go to McDonald's at like 2 a.m. in the morning. Or as Jeremy from Financial Education call it, the Michael Jackson stocks, or the Michael Jackson companies. So if you don't know what I'm talking about by now, I can't help you, by the way. Anyways, back in January, I was working one day, and one day my manager walks into the office and he's like, you know that research that we're all doing on MJ? Yeah, forget about MJ. MJ is old news. You know what the next big thing is? It's going to be psychedelics. And the company that's leading the charge is called Mindmed. And at the time, I didn't really understand like psychedelics, or I didn't know anything about the industry, so I didn't really pay that much attention to it. But now it's definitely worth a second look now that I've looked into the company, and especially since the stock has run up in price a lot recently. I mean, if you just look at this chart, the stock has had quite a big increase. It's like almost pretty much doubled, right? Or more than doubled its price in the past like few months or so. So first of all though, let me just note that this is not a very big company at all, okay? So it has a market cap of only around 350 million Canadian dollars, and this company is not generating any meaningful revenue at the moment. So that in of itself kind of makes it a really highly speculative stock as it is. So it's very difficult to come up with a proper valuation or a price target for this company. So therefore, I'm not going to spend a lot of time analyzing the financial statements and all the numbers, because honestly, they don't mean that much at the moment. The numbers are pretty much what you would expect for a company that's like crazy high growth, and they're not even generating any revenue at the moment. So you'll see in a sec, this company is very early on in its life cycle. But let's just quickly run through the numbers though. So looking at the financial statements, looking at the income statement, it's actually more of a statement of comprehensive loss, because as I said, they don't have any income, right? So we can see that they are indeed spending a lot of money and losing quite a bit of money, but they are spending a lot of money on research and development, coming in at 2.7 million in the 3 months ending June 30th, 2020. And by the way, this is just 2.7 million, not 2.7 billion. So I know we're used to seeing numbers listed in units of 1,000 because usually when I talk about financial statements, I'm talking about companies that have much bigger market caps, right? So once again, note that Mindmed is very small company. They're very small in terms of market cap. So their financial statements are just in dollars and not in thousands of dollars. So anyways, this is good though. This is what we want to see, right? So we want to see the company spending a lot of money on R&D because that's kind of the main job of the company right now, right? Because that's what they need to succeed in the future, good R&D. So I'd be worried if they didn't spend a lot of money on R&D. Anyways, moving on to look at the balance sheet, there's nothing really to complain here either. We see that they do have quite a bit of cash in of around 24 million compared to very little debt or liabilities. And from their cash flows, we can see that they're burning a little more than $10 million every 6 months. So at current burn rates, they can go for more than a year without running out of cash. So that's good news. So essentially, those are the numbers, and I'll leave the numbers here. I don't really see any red flags about the numbers, so that's good. I do want to circle back though and talk about the company and the products that they have to offer because I do think that that is the most interesting part about the company. So first question you got to ask about a company in a highly speculative and emerging industry is that what is the total addressable market? You know, sometimes you'll hear this referred to as the TAM opportunity, like TAM. And basically this just gives you a big picture of how big the entire market is. So Mindmed claims that the total addressable market is around $100 billion. And you know what? That actually doesn't sound that ridiculous to me because if you just think about how big the pharmaceutical industry is, right? And one part about what Mindmed is doing that I find particularly interesting is that their attempt to help with the opioid crisis. So opioids are basically like painkillers, and most of the time they're actually prescribed by doctors as opposed to obtained illegally. But the problem is that they're highly addictive. And what Mindmed is trying to do is provide help for those that are addicted to substances, not just opioids, but just substance abuse in general, and take them off of the addictive substances, right? So let me just show you a graph of how their medications work, and I'll try my best to explain it using my limited medical knowledge. Keep in mind, I'm not a doctor or a nurse or anything like that, and if you are a doctor or a medical professional and you're watching this and I say something wrong, don't kill me. So from what I can understand though, this is how Mindmed products work, right? So Mindmed products seek to help regulate the dopamine count in your body. So dopamine is what your brain releases to tell you that, oh, I like this, or yeah, it gives you pleasure, right? So it makes you feel good and you want to do that thing again. The problem happens when you get those like spikes in the dopamine, which happens when you take drugs like painkillers or anything that you might get addicted to because you're like, oh, man, that feels so good, I need more of it, right? And when the drug wears off, your dopamine levels kind of just crash and you don't feel so good anymore. So you need to take that drug again to feel good, and that's how you get addicted, right? Because you keep going back, because every time you go to that drug, it causes your dopamine levels to spike, and then you don't want that crash, but as soon as that crash happens, you're like, I need that drug again. So that's how you get addicted. So Mindmed, as you can see on the right, seeks to flatten out your dopamine curve so that you don't get those cravings for that thing you're addicted to. And you can see that not only is the dopamine curve more flat compared to traditional medications, it's also almost identical to what your dopamine level baseline should be, i.e. what your normal dopamine levels should be. So I can go on and on about other type of drugs and products that they have to offer and is being tested right now. I'll leave the investor presentation as a link down below in the description. If you have time, please check it out. It's very interesting. Now though, I want to talk about some risk of potentially investing in Mindmed from like a business perspective. So obviously I talked about the fact that they are a very speculative company and they're a very young company and they're also very low in terms of market cap. But another risk is that if you look at their timetable for all the drugs that they have in the pipeline, all of them are basically at phase 1 or phase 2 at the moment. So if you're not familiar with how clinical trials and phases work, basically phase 1 is testing to see if the drug is safe. So at that point, it doesn't even matter that much if the drug works or not. You just want to make sure that it doesn't have any crazy side effects, right? So phase 2 is actually when you start looking at evidence that the drug actually has some effect at all. And phase 3 is basically when you look into whether this drug has a large enough effect to actually matter and to make it worth it or not. Because if your drug only works like 10% of the time, it might not be worth your time to kind of manufacture this drug and push it out, even if it has no side effects and even if it sort of works some of the time, right? So that's probably not going to be a very successful drug if it only works 10% of the time. It might not be exactly that helpful. So these trials, the point is that these trials take years and years, and they can take even longer to get regulatory approval. So in my opinion, considering that Mindmed is still in phase 1 or 2 for most of their products, you might have to wait a long time for a really big hit product. I'm not saying that you shouldn't invest in them, but in my opinion, if you want to invest in Mindmed or the psychedelic industry in general, for the long term, you might have to wait for a really long time to see results. And if that doesn't bother you, just by all means put a little bit of money there. But again, I wouldn't recommend putting a lot of money here just because it is a highly speculative industry. And I'm sorry I keep repeating that it's a highly speculative industry, but it is true, right? So sorry if I sound like a broken record, but personally I would like to see some phase 3 trials or some results from phase 3 trials before I consider picking up anywhere close to a medium-sized position. But in the meantime, I might just hold off a bit, or if I do decide to pick up a position, it will be a very small position, like literally a couple $100 or something, right? I might just like pick up $100 worth of shares on Wealthsimple Trade because it is commission free. Get your $10 down in the link, by the way. Sorry for the shameless plug. But anyways, my point is I just want to wait on the sidelines for a little bit longer before I really start jumping into this stock in a huge way. So I do think that the company is really damn cool though. So it's definitely worth the read for the material that I'll link down below, the presentations and stuff like that. I'll leave the video here. Be sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video and consider subscribing if you like the series. Be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, links down below in the description as always. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye!